Want to get into riding trail centres but don't know where to get started? Then this video is for you. I'll be going over everything you need to know to have a great day out on the trails, as well as looking at the best type of bike for a beginner mountain biker. Back in the day, if you wanted to find out about all the local trail centres in your area, you would have had to have gone to a bike shop and asked, or waited for a magazine like MBR to come out with a guide. And while those options are still totally viable, we expect most of you will begin your search online. A good place to start? Well, as you'd expect, we would recommend heading over to mbr.co.uk, where we have an article featuring some of the best trail centres in the UK. There's an interactive map, so you can search for the ones local to you, and we've popped a link to the article in the video description so you can go and check it out. In terms of what you need to bring with you, it's worth mentioning straight away that you can often hire bikes at the more established trail centres. So if you're literally just starting out and want to dip your toe into the world of mountain biking, you don't need to rush out and buy a bike first. If you already have a bike, then the next most important thing to bring is a decent mountain bike helmet. And if you don't have one of those already, check out the link in the video description to our buyer's guide for the best mountain bike helmets. Now, what to take with you on the trails can depend on how long and how far you're planning to ride. But there are a few essentials that we'd always recommend taking with you. You'll need a spare tube, pump, tyre levers and anything else you need to fix a puncture. And if you're running tubeless tyres, you might want to invest in some tyre plugs. Don't forget your water either, whether you carry it in a bottle or on your back in a hydration pack. Some snacks will be useful too, as no one likes getting tired or running out of energy. And we'd also recommend taking a multi-tool for any mid-ride adjustments or mechanical mishaps. Some riders even like taking a quick link in case they break their chain. Now, some riders like keeping all their spares in a backpack, while others prefer putting them in a bum bag. And finally, don't forget your phone. Obviously great for getting photos for the gram, but it's super important in case you need to call for help. Now, on the subject of calling for help, we're not trained medics, so we can't give you advice on what exactly to do with someone in the case of emergency. For that, you'll need to speak to a trained professional or do a first aid course yourself. Now, if you do have a crash on the trail, it's crucial to know exactly where you are, which is why most trail centres place marker posts along the route so you can guide any help to your precise location. You'll normally find them at the start and the end of each trail section. So now you know how to find your local trail centre and what to bring with you, we're going to go over what you can expect to find when you get there. So larger trail centres will often have a cafe and a bike shop, which is excellent for all of those last-minute mechanical or nutritional requirements. There'll often be maps of the trails there as well, or a larger map attached to a notice board at the trailhead. Now, it's good to take a quick snap of that on your phone if it's your first visit, as you can refer to that around the loop. Now, all the trails will be graded. Green is the easiest trail. They'll be mostly flat and without any technical features, and this is where we'd recommend starting out if you're a beginner. Next is blue. These will be a little harder with more elevation change and some technical features. However, these features will be relatively easy and you should be able to roll all of them. Red are classed as intermediate trails, and this is where more experienced mountain bikers ride. They'll usually be longer, have more elevation, and the features will require some calculated speed and precision to negotiate. Lastly, we have black trails, and these are for the experienced riders. They may have steep sections or technical features such as drops and jumps. Now, bike parks use a similar grading convention, but they'll be based solely on the size and technicality of the features and the skill level required to ride them, rather than the fitness level needed to get round a loop. Now, when visiting a trail centre for the first time, we'd recommend erring on the side of caution and riding a trail a grade below what you'd normally ride, just to get a feel for the place. Then once you're feeling more confident, you can make the call to move up a grade. And a final note, all trails at UK trail centres are one way, so pay attention to the signs and always follow the direction of traffic. Now when it comes to the subject of what type of bike is best for riding at a trail centre, that will come down to your skill level and where you plan on riding. It's a whole topic in itself and one we don't really have time to go into here. However, if you're a beginner mountain biker, you can't go wrong with something like this from our sponsor Cube. The Attention SL is a hardtail mountain bike, which means it only has front suspension. And while you may see lots of riders on full suspension mountain bikes at your local trail centre, we think hardtails are a great idea for beginners. First up, they don't have rear suspension, so they are easier to maintain. For the same price, you will often find hardtails come with better components when compared to a full suspension bike as well. They'll almost certainly be lighter, which is great when you're first starting out and your fitness may not be as high as more experienced riders. And finally, they're often more suited to the mellow trails beginners ride on, where having rear suspension isn't necessary. Some key features that make bikes like the Cube Attention SL well suited to trail centre riding are its geometry, gears, suspension and tyres. The RockShox suspension has 100mm of travel and can be locked out, meaning the bike won't bob up and down when you're on a smoother section of trail or the road. And while we're on that subject, the disc mount integrates seamlessly with a kickstand and carrier, making the Attention SL perfect for doing double duties as a commuter bike. The gears are from Shimano. They combine a single chainring up front with a large cassette at the back. This gives you a great range of gears to tackle everything from steep climbs to faster sections of trail. Now, bicycle geometry is a complicated subject and we need a whole series of videos to go into everything. But it's safe to say the Attention SL has relatively modern hardtail geometry that helps it feel safe and confidence inspiring on the trails. And finally, the Schwalbe tyres are fairly wide at 2.25 inches and will give you plenty of grip in the rough stuff. So once you're out on the trail, its undulating nature means that you'll have to change gear regularly to maximise your momentum. So try and look around the corners as much as you can to spot any approaching climbs where you may need to drop down into an easier gear. Don't be ashamed to take regular stops along the way. Maybe have a drink or a snack at the end of every trail section. This will keep your hydration and energy levels topped up so you can enjoy every section to the max. So we're at the top of a climb, we've got a sweet descent ahead of us. There's two things to remember to do before we drop in. The first one is to unlock our suspension. And the second thing is to drop our saddle down, which will give us more room to move around on the bike and a lot more control. When you come across a really sweet bit of single track along the route, if it's not too long, often there'll be a bit of fire road climb that will let you go back round and enjoy it again. So now we're back at the car park and it's time for a well-earned brew. Hopefully by now you'll have all you need to know for your first visit to the trail centre. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching and hope you enjoyed the video.